the multi-level marketing compensation plan, compendium, and audiobook style deep dive. Chapter 1, Introduction. Welcome to this comprehensive exploration of multi-level marketing compensation plans, designed as an audiobook-style narrative. In this deep dive, we'll examine the most widely used compensation structures, from the straightforward Unilevel plan to the intricate stair-step breakaway model, breaking down how each system functions and what it means for distributors. This is not a beginner's overview. The audience here is already familiar with network marketing fundamentals. That allows us to focus on advanced analysis, the mechanics of commissions, upline and downline incentives, the historical development of each plan, and an honest look at scalability and real-world earning patterns. We will set aside legal or regulatory debates and concentrate strictly on structural logic and motivational design. Each chapter is dedicated to one compensation type: Unilevel, binary, matrix, and forced matrix, breakaway including stair-step breakaway, differential, and hybrid models. Along the way, we'll consider how these plans evolved, why companies adopted them, and how they attempted to solve the challenges of growth, fairness, and reward. Let's begin with the foundation plan that many others built upon, the Unilevel. Chapter 2, the Unilevel plan, structure and commission design. The Unilevel plan is one of the simplest and most recognizable forms of MLM compensation. In this structure, distributors can sponsor an unlimited number of people directly onto their front line. There are no width restrictions. Every person you personally recruit occupies your first level. From there, commissions are typically paid down a fixed number of levels in your downline, often 3, 5, or 7 depending on company design. For example, a firm might pay 5% on each of the first 5 levels. Beyond that cutoff, no direct overrides are paid. This straightforward design makes the plan easy to explain, easy to administer, and relatively transparent for new participants. Each recruit simply starts a new leg under you, and you earn a defined percentage on their sales and the sales of their teams within the prescribed depth. Upline/downline incentives and revenue splits. In a Unilevel system, the incentive for the sponsor is twofold: build wide by recruiting many direct distributors and support them so their teams generate sales volume across multiple levels. Commission rates are often equal per level or tiered downward. For instance, 5% on level 1, 4% on level 2, 3% on level 3, and so on. This creates reward for both width and depth, but because the plan usually cuts off at a set number of levels, there is a built-in bias toward enrolling more frontline distributors. Another defining feature of the pure Unilevel model is the absence of forced placement or spillover. Each person you sponsor is yours directly, unless you voluntarily place them under another member for strategic purposes. Because of this, downline members cannot rely on gifted recruits from above. Revenue distribution is straightforward. If a product sale generates $100 in volume and the plan pays 5% per level for 5 levels, each of the 5 upline members receives $5, while the company retains the rest. In addition, most companies also pay a separate retail margin or base commission on personal sales outside the override structure. Historical context and key adopters. The Unilevel model gained traction as a simpler alternative to more complicated, rank-heavy plans that characterized the industry's early years. By the 1980s and 1990s, many new MLM startups adopted Unilevels because they were easy to present to new recruits and did not overwhelm them with complexity. Over time, however, pure Unilevel systems revealed shortcomings. Many firms that started this way added bonuses or rank-based layers to stimulate deeper growth and leadership development. Some well-known companies have run on Unilevel or modified Unilevel hybrids. For example, Melaleuca is known for a structure that pays overrides up to 7 generations deep, while adding leadership pools to balance simplicity with sustainability. Even Amway, which is typically associated with breakaway mechanics, has a modified Unilevel component in its performance bonus structure. It allows unlimited width sponsorship and pays a percentage on group volume, functioning much like a Unilevel base, before layering in differential and leadership rewards. This demonstrates how influential the Unilevel idea has been. Even complex hybrid models often rest on its foundation. Smaller and mid-sized firms in particular continue to use Unilevels because they provide a clean story for enrollment and keep the focus on selling products and recruiting without a steep learning curve. Scalability, depth, and width. The greatest strength of the Unilevel plan is its unlimited width. If you personally enroll 50 or 100 active distributors, every one of them remains on your first line, and you benefit directly from their production. This creates a high theoretical ceiling for income, since there is no restriction on how many legs you can personally build. The weakness lies in depth. Unilevels generally cap the number of payable levels, so commissions might stop after the 5th or 7th level. Any volume generated below that point does not contribute to your income. This can dampen the motivation to develop deep leadership unless additional bonuses are introduced. Because spillover is not a structural feature, downlines cannot rely on higher-level sponsors to place recruits under them automatically. Each person must build independently, with success tied to personal effort or the strategic generosity of an upline. The model offers clarity and control for the sponsor, but can leave newer or weaker distributors without the benefit of structural support. Theoretical versus practical, earning potential. The Unilevel plan promises unlimited width and, at least in theory, significant earning potential for those who can recruit broadly and generate consistent sales volume through multiple levels. If you personally enroll dozens of frontline distributors and each of them builds a productive team a few levels deep, the accumulated percentages can look substantial. There is no structural cap on how large your organization can grow. With enough active members, the volume can scale exponentially. Reality, however, looks different. Managing a very large number of frontline relationships is difficult. Not every recruit will stay active, and supporting an ever-widening team can quickly stretch a sponsor's capacity thin. Many participants discover that growth beyond the plan's paid depth produces little financial return. If most of the activity is happening at levels 6, 7, or deeper, a traditional unilevel will not reward it, which can weaken motivation to support deeper leadership development. Attrition adds another challenge. When active sellers on your paid levels quit, their volume disappears and the downline beneath them may no longer count toward your earnings unless the plan uses compression to roll volume upward. As a result, unilevel distributors often find themselves in a cycle of continuous recruiting, needing to replace those who leave and keep widening their frontline base. The model heavily rewards ongoing personal enrollment, which works well for high recruiters but can feel like a treadmill for those who struggle to generate new prospects. Without enhancements, there is usually no major leap in earnings, tied to developing leaders deep in the organization. Recognizing these limits, many companies eventually add leadership bonuses, rank-based incentives, or pooled rewards to push distributors to develop depth and stabilize income. In short, the Unilevel offers clarity and strong potential for broad-based earnings, but in practice, it mainly benefits those who can consistently recruit and maintain a moderately deep, active team. Companies value its simplicity, yet often treat it as a foundation to be expanded with additional features that encourage the very behaviors, like depth building, that the pure model under-rewards. The Unilevel gave the industry its baseline: simple to understand, easy to administer, but reliant on constant recruiting and capped in depth. As the industry matured, new structures emerged to overcome these constraints and introduce different motivational dynamics. The most influential of these was the binary plan, which introduced a two-legged structure that changed how volume is balanced and how teamwork is incentivized. This model became a defining innovation of the 1990s MLM landscape. Chapter 3: The Binary Plan: Structure and Commission Design. The binary plan is built around a two-leg tree structure. Each distributor has only two direct downline positions, commonly referred to as a left leg and a right leg. When you enroll, you open two subtrees beneath you, one on each side. Any new distributor you personally sponsor must be placed into either your left or your right leg. Once those two frontline slots are filled, any additional recruits must be placed deeper, somewhere within one of those legs. This enforced width limit creates a dynamic known as spillover. If your upline continues to recruit after their two positions are filled, the system requires them to place new enrollees under existing downline members. That means new recruits can sometimes be placed under you, accelerating growth in one of your legs even if you didn't directly sponsor them. Commissions in a binary do not operate on simple levels like a unilevel plan. Instead, they are tied to volume balancing between the two legs. Each side accumulates sales volume from product orders, and the company periodically, often weekly, measures how much volume exists on the left versus the right. You are then paid on the matched portion of volume between the two sides. For example, if the plan defines a cycle as 300 points left and 300 points right, that pair might generate a fixed commission, say $30. The smaller leg, often called the pay leg or weak leg, determines your earnings. Excess volume on the stronger side may carry forward to future pay periods or flush out, depending on plan rules, but it produces no payout until the weaker side balances it. This balancing requirement is the essence of the binary model. You cannot simply stack infinite sales in one leg and expect unlimited income. Both legs must grow. If you generate 1,000 points on each side and the plan pays $100 for that balance, you have effectively earned 10% on that volume. Most binary designs pay in the range of 5 to 15% of balanced volume, though they usually express it as cycle bonuses or pair commissions rather than a flat percentage. Another distinctive feature of many binaries is the concept of multiple business centers. Some plans allow a distributor to hold more than one position in the tree. Each position has its own two legs and its own earning potential. To control liability, there is often a cap on how much any single position can earn in a week. Once that ceiling is reached, a distributor may be allowed to re-enter by opening a new position deeper in their own organization. This creates unusual genealogies in which the same individual may appear in several places within their downline, effectively stacking additional income streams on top of their existing network. Upline/downline incentives and mechanics. The binary plan creates powerful incentives for teamwork and balanced growth. Because your income depends on maintaining both a left leg and a right leg, you cannot afford to let one side stall. This naturally encourages uplines to support their weaker leg with additional recruits or direct assistance. In practice, this often means an upline may place new enrollees into a downline distributor's organization to shore up the weaker side. For the person receiving that placement, it feels like free momentum. They log into their back office and suddenly see new distributors added under them, generating spillover volume they can now capitalize on if they build the opposite side. This dynamic fosters the feeling that we're all building the two legs together. Strategic placement is an ongoing part of binary growth. Uplines frequently coach their teams on whether to place new recruits left or right to keep overall volume balanced. Unlike Unilevel systems, revenue distribution in a binary is not linear across every upline. Instead, all volume flows upward until it is matched between the left and right sides at a qualifying distributor, who then earns the cycle commission. For example, if the plan defines a cycle as 300 points left and 300 points right, the system locates the first upline member with those volumes available and pays them the bonus. The corresponding volume is then deducted, sometimes flushed entirely, other times partially reduced, depending on company rules. Many binaries also add a matching bonus element. In this case, you might earn a percentage of the binary commissions that your personally enrolled distributors receive. This injects a Unilevel-style mentorship reward into the binary model, encouraging sponsors to help their direct recruits succeed. Another unique feature is that depth is unlimited. Volume from infinite levels can roll up to you so long as it falls in one of your two legs. That means building deep is just as valuable as building wide, a marked contrast from capped depth structures like a pure Unilevel. This unlimited depth, combined with spillover, can create a global team effect, where everyone in a leg contributes to the total volume regardless of who originally sponsored them. In practice, uplines often develop one power leg, typically strengthened by spillover from their own sponsor, and one pay leg that they drive personally. Downlines benefit most from spillover on one side, but must build their other leg themselves in order to earn commissions. This mix of shared momentum and individual responsibility is what defines the binary dynamic. Historical context and key companies. The binary plan is a relatively recent innovation in the MLM world, first appearing in the early 1990s. At the time, it was seen as a radical departure from traditional Unilevel and Breakaway structures. Unfortunately, many of the earliest binaries were tied to questionable ventures, such as gold coin schemes or prepaid phone card programs, and quickly attracted regulatory scrutiny. These early iterations often relied on one-time, high-ticket purchases rather than ongoing customer sales, leading critics to label them thinly disguised pyramid schemes. By the late 1990s, the binary model had developed a tarnished reputation and was largely avoided by mainstream companies. The turning point came when legitimate product-based firms began adopting the binary framework. One early success story was USANA, a nutrition company founded in 1992, which proved that a binary plan could be sustainable when tied to consumable products and ongoing monthly volume. Distributors were drawn to the promise of spillover, the simplicity of building just two teams, and the added appeal of weekly payouts. This last feature was especially significant since most legacy MLMs paid only once a month, By the 2000s, the binary had regained traction and began spreading widely, especially in wellness, personal care, travel, and later crypto or CBD niches. The model's straightforward presentation, just build two legs, made it attractive to newcomers, while the balancing requirement was viewed as fair because everyone faced the same structure. High-profile examples include USANA, ACN, Jeunesse Global, Organo Gold, and Fusion. Some companies with hybrid models, such as Herbalife, incorporated elements of volume balancing that resembled binary dynamics, even if their overall structure was more complex. By the 2020s, the binary had evolved from its controversial beginnings into one of the most popular MLM compensation designs worldwide, standing alongside Unilevel's as a dominant model. Distributors continue to be drawn to the sense of teamwork, the potential for spillover, and the perception of simplicity. While success still depends on building both legs effectively, the binary has proven itself as a lasting compensation structure in the industry. Scalability, depth, and spillover. One of the defining strengths of the binary plan is its scalability and depth. Unlike a unilevel plan that might limit payouts to only a handful of levels, the binary has no depth restriction. Every sale in your left or right leg, no matter how many levels down it occurs, contributes to your overall group volume. This means an organization 50 levels deep can still generate income for you, provided the volume is balanced between both sides. That unlimited depth is one of the binary's most appealing features. The trade-off comes in width and payout caps. Each distributor can only have two frontline positions, which makes the structure simple but restrictive compared to plans where you can personally sponsor as many frontline legs as you want. On top of that, most companies set weekly caps on how much a single position can earn. These caps vary, but they are typically in the range of several thousand to tens of thousands of dollars per week. Once the ceiling is reached, any additional volume that week may either flush away or be carried forward, depending on company rules. These limits are designed to protect the company's finances and prevent runaway earnings. For ambitious distributors, the solution often involves opening additional business centers, typically at the bottom of one of their legs, to capture and monetize volume that exceeds the cap. Spillover is another hallmark of the binary model. Because no one can personally sponsor more than two frontline members, any third recruit must be placed deeper in the organization, under someone else. This creates a powerful motivational dynamic. A downline distributor may suddenly see new members appear in their team, placed there by an active upline. The volume from these recruits still counts toward leg balance, even though the person didn't personally sponsor them. This can create exciting moments. For instance, waking up to find that your left leg has grown overnight thanks to your upline's recruiting, which then motivates you to build your right leg to match it. Yet spillover is not always evenly shared. Those who happen to be in an upline strong leg may benefit from heavy spillover, while others in a less active leg may see little or none. And there's a risk. If people rely too heavily on spillover, they may become passive, expecting their upline to build their team for them. This can result in inactive downlines if personal effort is lacking. Successful binary organizations learn to treat spillover as a bonus, not a guarantee. In terms of width scalability, the binary is deliberately narrow. You will always be managing only two direct teams. Some leaders appreciate this simplicity, while others see it as a limitation. Unlike in a unilevel where you could develop 10 or 20 direct leaders, in a binary you must channel everyone into just two pipelines. Some companies attempt to ease this restriction by allowing leaders to open additional positions, effectively creating new binary centers, though this can add complexity to management. Overall, the binary scales through depth, not width. Its success depends on balance, teamwork, and leveraging spillover wisely. The structure rewards those who can maintain growth on both legs while understanding the limits imposed by payout caps and width constraints. Theoretical versus practical earning potential. In theory, the binary plan offers extraordinary earning potential. With unlimited depth, every sale in your organization contributes to your volume, and if both legs expand exponentially, the cycles can feel limitless. Advocates often describe it as having no bottom. If momentum takes hold deep in your downline, all that volume still rolls upward to you. Weekly payouts add to the excitement, delivering income more frequently than traditional monthly systems and reinforcing the sense of fast growth. In practice, though, binary income always comes down to balance. It is common for one leg to surge ahead while the other lags. Often, the stronger side becomes the power leg, fed by spillover from an upline or a dominant leader, while the weaker side, your pay leg, struggles to keep pace. In these situations, distributors can find themselves holding thousands of volume points on one leg but earning nothing until the other side catches up. This imbalance can be frustrating, especially when someone has invested heavily in growing one side only to realize their commissions are blocked by a thin pay leg. Real-world outcomes in binaries tend to sort into familiar patterns. Many participants earn little to nothing because they never balance their legs. Others manage moderate equilibrium and see consistent middle-income results. At the top, a select few who can build massive balanced teams may hit payout caps week after week, becoming the visible success stories highlighted in company magazines. The distribution, like in most MLMs, is heavily top-weighted. Companies often add flush rules to prevent stockpiling volume forever. If your weaker leg does not catch up within a certain time, or if you fail to meet minimum activity requirements, unused volume can expire. This keeps liabilities under control, but means you cannot sit indefinitely waiting for growth on one side. Sustained recruiting, training, and duplication in both legs is essential for consistent income. From the company's perspective, binaries usually operate with a payout ceiling of around 40 to 50% of total sales volume. Caps, cycle values, and flush rules are how firms ensure the plan remains financially viable. When a binary is balanced and expanding, it can produce a healthy middle tier of weekly earners, alongside the rare top leaders who max out. But when imbalance sets in, excitement quickly fades for those stuck on the wrong side of spillover. Modern companies often blend the binary with other elements to address these weaknesses. Common hybrids include adding Unilevel commissions on customer sales, generation bonuses, or matching checks on personally enrolled distributors. These enhancements provide income streams even when one leg is unbalanced, and they give leaders incentives beyond the basic cycle bonus. In summary, the binary plan is high energy, fast-paced, and capable of generating quick payouts. It fosters teamwork and creates visible momentum, but its success hinges on maintaining balance across both legs. Despite the allure of spillover, real and lasting income still requires diligent effort in building and supporting both sides of the organization. From the binary's dual structure, we move next to the matrix plan. If the binary is defined by unlimited depth and the need for balance between two legs, the matrix is defined by fixed width and fixed depth, a rigid grid that determines where every new recruit is placed. In the next chapter, we'll examine the matrix and its forced variant and explore how this structure changes the dynamics of growth and earnings. Chapter 4, the matrix plan, structure, and commission design. The matrix plan introduces a grid-like framework into MLM compensation. Unlike the unilevel or binary, which allow unlimited expansion in at least one direction, a matrix places hard limits on both width and depth. It is typically described as an N by M design, where N is the maximum number of frontline distributors you can sponsor, and M is the number of levels deep the plan pays. For example, in a 3x5 matrix, you can sponsor only 3 people on your first level, and commissions are paid 5 levels down. Once your front line is full, any new recruits you bring in cannot be placed directly under you. Instead, they are forced into the next available spot in your structure, often following a left-to-right, top-to-bottom filling order. This is why it is often called a forced matrix. Placement is automatic once your width is filled, and overflow recruits cascade downward into your existing team. The commission scheme is usually level-based, similar to a unilevel but within strict boundaries. A company might pay 10% on sales made by your first level, 5% on your second, 4% on your third, and so on until the depth limit. The appeal is clear. If your matrix fills completely, you can earn overrides on a defined and potentially large group of people. In a 3x5 matrix, for instance, that would amount to 363 individuals filling out the grid, each contributing a share of volume. Many matrix plans add completion bonuses to drive momentum. You might receive a one-time payout for filling your first level and a much larger bonus for filling the entire matrix. These incentives encourage teamwork. Leaders want their downlines to succeed so that everyone advances toward matrix completion. Some versions also include entry fees or cycling mechanisms. In these board or cycling matrices, once a grid is filled, it resets and you begin again with a new matrix. This can create a recurring cycle of recruitment and payout, though it also introduces added complexity. In summary, the matrix plan resembles the unilevel in that it pays by levels, but it differs by imposing strict caps on both how wide you can sponsor and how deep you can earn. This makes the matrix easier to model and calculate. The potential income is limited by the maximum number of positions in the structure. For example, in a 3x5 matrix, no single unit can ever exceed 243 participants within its payout framework. That clarity is appealing for some companies and distributors who prefer a system with a well-defined ceiling. Upline/downline incentives and spillover. The matrix plan naturally fosters teamwork through its built-in spillover effect. Because an upline cannot go wider than the set frontline limit, any extra recruits must be placed further down in the structure. Take a 3x5 matrix as an example. If you personally recruit 5 people, the first 3 will occupy your front line. The fourth must be placed under one of those 3, typically filling the first open slot from left to right. That means one of your downline distributors just received a new team member they didn't directly enroll. Your 5th recruit would then drop into the next available position, perhaps on your 2nd level under another frontline, continuing to cascade deeper. For newcomers, this spillover can be highly motivating. Joining under a strong recruiter may mean their matrix begins to fill from above, even if they haven't personally enrolled anyone yet. This is why many matrix leaders promote the idea of spillover help as a reason to join their team. Uplines, once their front line is full, automatically contribute growth to their downlines' organizations. This dynamic can build goodwill, as every new recruit they add strengthens not only their own matrix, but also the structure of their teammates. Uplines often develop a strategy for placement. Some spread recruits evenly across multiple downline legs to help more people progress, while others focus on building depth first to accelerate level completion bonuses. Matrix plans sometimes enhance this with spillover or team bonuses, rewarding distributors who systematically fill their matrices and assist their downline in doing the same. But there is a challenge. Because team members can receive recruits without personal effort, the structure can unintentionally encourage passivity. Some distributors fall into the mindset of waiting for spillover rather than actively recruiting themselves. If the upline fails to deliver as much spillover as expected, this can lead to frustration and disengagement. To counteract this, many companies impose requirements such as personally enrolling a minimum number of people before you can earn on all levels, or they use compression systems that bypass inactive distributors. Revenue splits in a matrix are straightforward. Each level pays a defined percentage to the corresponding upline tier. For instance, if someone on your 4th level generates a $100 sale, you might earn $3 as the level 4 upline, while the level 3 upline receives $4, level 2 receives $5, and level 1 receives $10, with the total payout predetermined by the company. Importantly, no commissions are paid beyond the set depth of the matrix. Any sales below that level are either ignored or rolled up through compression, depending on the plan's rules. In short, the matrix plan's incentive structure is designed to push distributors toward collective growth. Spillover creates shared benefits. Uplines are motivated to build for the team, and downlines are encouraged to remain active so they can capitalize on the structure rather than simply waiting for it to fill. Historical context and key companies. Matrix plans have often been seen as a novel, sometimes even gimmicky, approach to MLM compensation. They first gained traction in the 1980s and especially throughout the 1990s, often among companies marketing subscription services, discount buying clubs, or auto-ship heavy consumables. The pitch was simple. If everyone just finds a few people, 3 who find 3, who then find 3 more, the matrix fills and everyone earns. The promise of a full matrix payday was compelling. Critics, however, compared some of these programs to chain letters or slot-filling games, which drew regulatory attention. Regulators have stepped in when the focus shifted too heavily toward filling positions rather than selling genuine products. Even so, a number of companies have successfully used matrix structures. One example comes from East Asia, where Perfect China adopted a matrix compensation system and achieved notable revenue, proving the design could scale within a large enterprise. More recently, interest in matrix plans resurfaced with companies like Live Good, launched around 2022 to 2023, which introduced a 2x15 forced matrix. Their model required no personal recruiting to earn small commissions from matrix slots, which quickly attracted tens of thousands of participants. The appeal was again spillover, the idea that if the matrix keeps filling, everyone eventually benefits. Earlier attempts included mid-2000s wellness firms and travel clubs that experimented with matrices, as well as telecom ventures like Excel Communications, which briefly tested a matrix-style referral model. While many of these companies experience short bursts of excitement, most failed to sustain growth once recruitment slowed and the bottom levels of the matrix remained empty. Industry observers have often pointed out that matrix plans, as a whole, do not have a strong track record. They tend to spark early enthusiasm, especially around the promise of spillover, but when momentum slows, disappointment spreads quickly among those stuck in unfilled positions. Still, the concept has remained attractive enough that compensation plan software providers regularly receive requests to build matrix structures, showing ongoing interest. One of the reasons companies consider a matrix is control. Because the width and depth are capped, the maximum payout liability can be calculated with precision. A completed 3x5 matrix, for example, has a known number of positions and thus a predictable payout ceiling. Advocates also argue that this containment can make a market feel less saturated, since the growth is numerically limited, though critics question whether that stability is real. In practice, most Fortune 500 scale MLMs have avoided pure matrices, preferring hybrids or more traditional structures. USANA, in its early years, experimented with designs that resembled a matrix but eventually evolved into the binary system it is known for today. ASEAN briefly used a customer referral plan that mirrored matrix mechanics by paying on multiple levels with indirect width limits. Smaller nutritional companies, especially in the 1990s, often attempted 5x7 matrices, but if their sales were driven primarily by distributor autoship rather than genuine retail demand, the models quickly collapsed. In summary, the matrix plan's history is mixed. It has delivered bursts of excitement and a few notable successes, but more often it has struggled with sustainability. It remains viewed as innovative but risky, a compensation experiment embraced by companies wanting to appear fairer, but avoided by those wary of structural weaknesses that have doomed many past attempts. Scalability, depth, width, and spillover. A matrix plan, by design, places hard limits on both width and depth. This means every distributor's earning network has a defined maximum size within a single matrix unit. In a 3x5 example, you can never have more than 3 people on your front line, and you will only be paid on 5 levels of depth. Anything beyond that 6th level produces no income for you, unless the plan includes a progression system that extends your pay. This limited scalability is both a strength and a weakness. For the company, it creates safety. Payout liability is capped, preventing the kind of runaway depth that might overwhelm a binary or unilevel system. For top leaders, however, it can feel restrictive. Once a matrix is filled, options are limited. You either start another matrix, qualify for a new position, or accept the ceiling. Many plans include progression mechanics, where filling one matrix promotes you into a new tier, resets your grid, or allows you to cycle into another structure. These are often referred to as matrix cycling or board-splitting designs. Depth is strictly defined. If your plan pays 5 levels, then sales on level 6 or beyond generate no commission for you. In some cases, companies add compression features to soften this. With compression, inactive or unqualified members are skipped, allowing deeper participants to roll upward for payout purposes. This ensures that commissions flow to the next active distributor rather than disappearing entirely, and it makes the pay more equitable across active members. Width is also capped. In a 3-wide matrix, your first level has only 3 slots, the second has 9, the third has 27, and so on. This naturally produces a balanced pyramid shape, unlike a Unilevel where someone might have 50 or 100 people on their first level. Any extra recruits must spill down to the next open slot, which distributes growth more evenly across the organization. Spillover is one of the defining appeals of matrix systems. Because frontline width is capped, strong recruiters inevitably place new people deeper in their downline, often under less active distributors. This creates the possibility of team members gaining recruits they did not personally enroll. It's an attractive promise, and many matrix plans highlight this as a benefit. Even if you can't recruit, you can still earn from spillover. For some, this becomes a powerful incentive to join. But spillover is not evenly distributed. Those positioned under highly active uplines may benefit significantly, while those in quieter lineages may see little or none. It can also create a culture of dependency. Some distributors join with the expectation that their matrix will fill itself, adopting a lottery mindset rather than actively building. In many cases, this leads to spurts of fast initial growth, followed by stagnation once the original recruiters slow down. On a company-wide scale, matrices can still support very large organizations. The difference is that the growth is segmented into clusters. If a company has 1 million distributors, They may simply be spread across thousands of 3x5 or 5x7 grids, all interconnected at higher ranks. A good analogy is that each matrix is like a single team. Once it's full, new teams are formed. This structure keeps the overall system manageable and prevents any one genealogy from growing uncontrollably. Another built-in advantage is control of breakage. If a matrix isn't completely filled, or if some members don't qualify to earn on all levels, the unpaid commissions either remain with the company or are redistributed. This helps the company manage payout liabilities and ensures sustainability. Theoretical versus practical earning potential. On paper, the earning potential of a matrix plan can look dazzling. Take a 5x7 matrix as an example. If fully filled, that structure would contain over 78,000 people in your downline. If each one produced just $50 of monthly volume and you earned even a modest percentage on average across those levels, the math suggests tens of thousands of dollars per month in commissions. This kind of arithmetic is often used in presentations because it sounds both massive and attainable. After all, in a matrix, you only need to recruit a few, then help those few recruit a few more. Unlike a Unilevel where a superstar can place everyone on their own front line, in a matrix, those extra recruits must cascade down. In theory, this creates fairness, sharing the growth and giving the average person a real chance. In practice, things rarely work out that neatly. Most people do not recruit their N number of required frontline. Instead, a small number of high performers recruit heavily, while many recruit none. Those non-recruiters occupy valuable positions that depend entirely on spillover. If the spillover slows, those spots remain empty, leaving gaps in the matrix and reducing everyone's potential earnings. Since commissions are tied only to filled positions, an incomplete matrix generates a fraction of the theoretical maximum. For many participants, actual earnings in a matrix are modest, unless they are among the heavy lifters doing the bulk of the recruiting. This has led critics to argue that matrices can foster a welfare mentality. People join expecting their uplines to build the structure for them. The result is often a top-heavy distribution of income. Leaders who drive spillover enjoy solid earnings and bonuses, while those below collect very little. Spillover itself can be unpredictable. You may inherit new team members, but if they too fail to recruit, that leg stalls. A filled slot without productivity doesn't move the organization forward. Because width is fixed, once your matrix is full, you cannot expand further in that unit. The only way to increase income is by helping your downline fill their levels, or by starting a new matrix if the company allows. For some leaders, this team-building focus is rewarding. For others, it feels restrictive, as they continue producing without equivalent recognition or pay. Companies sometimes address this by resetting successful leaders into new matrices or advancing them into higher tiers, creating fresh space to grow. Even so, many matrix programs have struggled to sustain momentum. The early excitement fills the first few levels quickly, but when recruiting slows, those stuck at the bottom of half-filled matrices see no progress. Attrition follows, and the matrix collapses from the bottom up. This fragility is one of the main reasons matrices have not become the dominant MLM model, despite their promise of fairness. That said, when they do work, they often foster a strong sense of cooperation. Because spillover directly benefits downlines, people feel connected to their upline's success, and the culture can become more community-driven than in other plans. The practical sweet spot tends to be for distributors who recruit modestly and benefit from some spillover, creating a steady but moderate residual income that feels more sustainable than the constant expansion demanded by binaries or breakaways. In conclusion, the matrix narrative, everyone does a little and everyone wins, is inspiring, but real-world behavior rarely plays out so evenly. Matrices remain most effective in niche settings or in organizations with very high trust and cohesion. Without careful management, they risk breeding complacency, but in the right conditions, they can deliver stability and a sense of shared growth. We've now covered the general mechanics of matrix plans. Before moving on to entirely different structures, it's important to look more closely at the forced matrix variant. In the next chapter, we'll examine how forced placement works, the bonuses it creates, and the challenges it introduces. This will give us a complete picture of matrix-style systems before we shift into the very different world of breakaway plans. Chapter 5. The Forced Matrix Variation. Structured Mechanics of a Forced Matrix. A forced matrix is essentially the implementation of a matrix plan where the placement of new recruits is automated or mandated by the structure's rules. The term underscores that neither distributors nor the upline have unlimited freedom in positioning new members. The system will force each recruit into the next available slot of the matrix, according to a preset algorithm. In practice, most modern matrix MLMs are indeed forced matrices, with companies using software to ensure the matrix fills level by level, left to right, in a uniform order. For example, in a 3x7 forced matrix, if you enroll a fourth person, the software will automatically place them in the first open position on your second level under one of your original three, because your first level is already full at 3. This creates a predictable and balanced growth pattern compared to a manual matrix, where placement could vary depending on personal choice. Predictability and manageability are the main benefits. The forced matrix imposes an organized system that prevents one person from stacking an unlimited number of directs or one leg from stretching disproportionately before the rest of the structure fills evenly. From a company perspective, a forced matrix supported by software makes it simple to track qualifications and payouts. Every position in every level is accounted for, and it is always clear when someone has completed a level or filled an entire matrix. Bonuses and incentives unique to forced matrix plans. Because of the regimented structure, forced matrix plans often add layers of bonuses to keep distributors motivated and to reward both personal initiative and collective team progress. The most common incentives include sponsor bonuses, which pay you directly for each person you personally enroll, regardless of where they land in the matrix, ensuring that personal recruiting still matters, even if your recruits spill into someone else's downline. Level completion bonuses reward you when you fill an entire level of your matrix, such as filling all 9 positions on your second level in a 3-wide structure, which motivates leaders to help their frontline sponsor their own frontline so deeper levels fill. Matrix completion bonuses offer a larger payout for completely filling the entire structure, such as a 3x7 matrix, which can contain hundreds of positions. This acts like a jackpot incentive that keeps distributors striving until every slot is filled. Some plans also offer position bonuses or re-entry, where completing a matrix earns you a new business center or another position in a new or existing matrix. This allows leaders to start again and continue earning, much like the cycling mechanics seen in board-style plans. Matching bonuses are another variation, where you can earn a percentage of the matrix commissions your personally enrolled distributors receive, encouraging mentorship and support. Finally, some hybrids offer infinity or spillover pools, where volume beyond the defined matrix levels contributes to a shared pool for qualified leaders. This provides a way to reward depth beyond the capped structure, layering generational bonuses onto a rigid grid. These incentives transform the forced matrix from a static structure into a dynamic system of milestones and teamwork. Software is central to making it work, automatically crediting bonuses when conditions are met and ensuring accuracy in payouts. The rigid, predictable growth also makes compliance simpler. Since placement is controlled by system rules, it becomes much easier to explain the plan, to audit performance, and to demonstrate fairness. Many companies that use forced matrices provide visual genealogy charts so that every distributor can see the layout of their matrix in real time. This transparency builds trust, as people can track exactly where new members will appear and how close they are to triggering bonuses. For example, being able to see that only 2 more recruits are needed to complete a certain level. Strengths and challenges. Recap. The strengths of a forced matrix include several features that distinguish it from other plan types. One of the most important is teamwork and mutual support. Since uplines can only place extra recruits downward, they are naturally incentivized to help their downline grow, while downlines benefit from spillover and welcome that assistance. This creates a culture where cooperation is built into the structure. Predictable payouts are another strength. Because the size of each matrix is fixed, companies can easily calculate their maximum payout liability, preventing sudden exponential growth that could overwhelm the system. The plan also leverages psychological incentives, since the progress of filling levels resembles completing stages in a game. Each completed level delivers a sense of accomplishment, keeping participants motivated with incremental milestones. Forced matrices also offer inclusivity for weaker recruiters. Even if someone struggles to enroll personally, they may still see spillover recruits fill spots beneath them, producing at least some income. Although most companies require a few personal enrollments to qualify for earnings, the model still offers a more forgiving path compared to Unilevel or Breakaway plans. Finally, many argue that forced matrices can offer long-term stability. By limiting width, and focusing on moderate growth supported by reorder-driven products, they avoid scenarios where one superstar sponsor recruits hundreds of people who end up unsupported. Instead, those extra recruits get distributed downward, giving more distributors some level of team support. Despite these advantages, forced matrices also face challenges. A major one is inactive downlines. Spillover can place people into a matrix who joined with the expectation that the system or their upline would do the work for them. This can create pockets of inactivity, making it difficult for progress to continue deeper into the structure. Income limitation is another challenge. Each matrix has a strict earning cap, so ambitious leaders who want to scale larger incomes must either start multiple matrices or accept that their growth is constrained. This can feel restrictive compared to plans with theoretically unlimited expansion. Complexity is also a risk. While the basic matrix idea is simple, variations with re-entry positions, cycling boards, or split and merge mechanics can confuse participants. When communication is unclear, trust suffers, and people may leave. Finally, recruitment pressure still plays a critical role. For all its promises of inclusivity, a forced matrix still requires new recruits to fill levels, especially in the early stages. If recruitment slows, spillover dries up, and many downlines may grow disillusioned. Like any MLM, the system depends on reaching critical mass so that product sales and steady recruiting can sustain momentum after the initial rush. In summary, the forced matrix is a refinement of the matrix model that emphasizes order, balance, and systematic growth. Its automation ensures that every branch of the structure fills predictably, while bonuses and spillover foster teamwork and inclusivity. Yet it is not free from pitfalls. Inactive participants, capped earnings, and the constant need for new recruits remain real challenges. For the listener, the metaphor of an orchard is useful. Each tree is allowed only a set number of branches, and any new growth must emerge from existing branches. The result is a neat and organized orchard, but one that requires careful attention to ensure every branch remains alive and productive. With this understanding of matrices and their forced variation, we conclude our study of structured, grid-style compensation systems. In the next chapter, we turn to the Breakaway plan, a very different model that dominated the formative decades of network marketing and continues to serve as the backbone for many of the largest companies in the industry. Chapter 6: Breakaway Plans, Structural Design and How Commissions Work. The Breakaway plan is one of the oldest and most established MLM compensation structures. Often called the stair-step breakaway, it is designed around the idea that distributors progress through a series of ranks or steps, and once they reach a certain level, they break away from their upline's normal genealogy to form an independent business unit. When this breakaway occurs, the distributor no longer contributes to their sponsor's standard downline commissions, but instead generates a different type of payout to the sponsor, typically a leadership override or generational bonus. Before a distributor breaks away, the plan works much like a Unilevel. Distributors can personally sponsor unlimited frontline recruits, and they earn differential commissions based on the rank difference between themselves and their downline. Each rank in the plan corresponds to a commission percentage on group sales, and the distributor earns the difference between their own percentage and that of their downline. For example, if the commission rates are distributor at 0%, supervisor at 5%, manager at 10%, director at 15%, and breakaway director at 20%, then a manager at 10% with a downline supervisor at 5% would earn the 5% difference on that supervisor's entire group volume. If another downline member is just a distributor at 0%, the manager would earn the full 10% on their group sales. This differential method continues across multiple levels until someone in that line reaches the same rank or a higher rank than you. When a distributor in your downline finally achieves the breakaway director rank, they no longer contribute to your differential commissions because they are now at the top rate themselves. At that moment, their organization becomes independent of your normal structure. Instead of losing them completely, the plan transitions your payout to a smaller, fixed override on that breakaway group's total volume. This override is typically in the range of 4 to 5% and is considered a reward for developing leaders rather than just managing customers or casual sellers. The logic is that while you lose the higher differential spread, you now benefit from the productivity of a mature leader's entire organization, provided you maintain your own qualifications. Amway's long-standing plan is a classic example of this system in action. Distributors accumulate personal and group points, volume PV, each month, and as their totals increase, they move up through performance bonus levels ranging from 3% to 25%. When a distributor in your downline reaches the top 25% performance level in a given month by generating the required group PV, they are recognized as a direct distributor, which is effectively a breakaway. At that point, you no longer earn the differential between their rate and yours because you are now equals. Instead, Amway pays you a leadership bonus of around 4% on that breakaway legs volume. If you develop multiple breakaway legs, you can earn that override on each, with further bonuses available for sponsoring and supporting multiple breakaways. This design creates a clear path. Build wide, increase your own rank, develop others to reach top ranks, and then earn leadership bonuses on those independent organizations. Breakaway plans usually tie commission payouts tightly to monthly qualifications. Distributors are often required to meet both personal sales targets and group volume requirements to advance and to maintain their ranks. Once someone reaches the breakaway threshold, their relationship with the company often becomes more direct. They may place orders directly with the company and operate independently, while their sponsor shifts to earning leadership overrides instead of differentials. The defining feature of the breakaway plan is this transformation point, where your role changes from managing downline volume to mentoring and developing independent leaders. It rewards duplication and leadership development more than just frontline recruiting, making it one of the most enduring models in MLM history. Upline/downline incentive mechanics and revenue splits. The breakaway model places its emphasis on developing leadership and depth, but its mechanics differ significantly from binary structures. An upline's primary role is not simply to recruit endlessly on the front line, but to nurture and mentor those recruits toward higher performance levels. This is because the earnings mechanism is differential. You earn the spread between your own commission rate and that of your downline. If you are at 15% and one of your downlines also reaches 15%, your differential on them becomes zero. At that point, if they advance further and break away, your earnings shift to a generational override. This creates a built-in pressure for uplines to stay ahead of their downlines, at least until both reach the top bracket. The ideal strategy for an upline in this system is to produce multiple breakaway leaders. Each breakaway not only generates leadership overrides, but also qualifies you for higher titles. For example, in many breakaway systems modeled after Amway, becoming an emerald requires 3 breakaway legs, while reaching diamond requires 6. The structure rewards width in leadership development as much as it rewards depth in sales. The revenue split in breakaway plans can appear complex, but it usually follows a clear logic. A substantial portion of total payout, often in the range of 25 to 30% of sales, is allocated to performance bonuses paid through differential commissions within groups. Another 5 to 10% might be reserved for leadership bonuses that apply once groups break away. At the early stages, uplines enjoy a larger share of a new recruit's volume since the recruit is at a low commission percentage, leaving a wide differential margin. As that recruit climbs the ranks, the differential narrows, and more money flows to the recruit themselves. This prevents unlimited earnings flowing upward and aligns payouts more closely with performance. Once a recruit becomes a breakaway leader, the upline's income from that group converts into a smaller fixed override, usually just a few percent. However, most breakaway plans extend these overrides across multiple generations. An upline might earn 5% on first-generation breakaway groups, 3% on second-generation breakaways, and 2% on third-generation groups. This creates a cascading incentive for uplines to continue mentoring leaders deep in their organizations, not just their immediate breakaways. For the downline, the incentive structure is equally powerful. Achieving breakaway rank effectively gives them a pay raise, since they no longer lose differentials to their upline. They now enjoy the full top commission bracket and gain the ability to earn leadership overrides on their own breakaway legs. Many describe breakaway plans as promote yourself out of your upline's group, which carries both symbolic and financial significance. It marks the transition from being a dependent team member to being an independent leader. The result is a unique progression of relationships. Early on, uplines and downlines have close mentor-student bonds, since the upline is deeply invested in helping their team climb the stair steps. Once breakaway occurs, the relationship shifts toward more of a peer dynamic. The upline continues to benefit through overrides, but the downline is now running their own independent business unit. At scale, the revenue distribution under breakaway plans spreads across multiple leaders and generations, with each slice of commission smaller than the last. This deliberate design keeps the overall payout sustainable for the company, while still rewarding leaders who develop wide networks of independent groups. On top of the differential and leadership structures, breakaway plans often layer additional income streams: retail profit for direct selling, performance bonuses for high personal or group volume, and one-time or annual rewards for hitting major leadership milestones. These multiple layers give the breakaway model both stability and enduring appeal, ensuring that distributors are incentivized at every stage of their growth. Historical context and key companies. Breakaway plans were the original MLM compensation model that proved the long-term viability of the industry. Companies like Amway, founded in 1959, Shackley in 1956, Mary Kay in 1963, and even Avon's leadership programs all relied on variants of the stair-step breakaway system. In the 1950s and 1960s, as multi-level compensation structures were being designed, the breakaway concept solved two critical problems. First, how to limit the company's payout exposure by capping commissions through differentials and breakaways rather than paying infinitely deep. And second, how to tie advancement to actual sales volume while still motivating recruitment, since progression required building volume through a downline. For decades, breakaway was essentially the only structure that consistently worked. Analysts have noted that before unilevels and binaries gained popularity in the 1990s, breakaway dominated because it demonstrated sustainability. It paid distributors while ensuring companies remained profitable. Amway set the benchmark by establishing a multi-tiered performance bonus system, leadership overrides, and annual growth incentives that became a template for the entire industry. Mary Kay added its own variation by combining the breakaway model with a party plan style. Consultants could advance to sales director by building a team, at which point they broke away and earned commissions on their unit. Mary Kay then layered in iconic incentives like the company car for maintaining leadership levels. Herbalife, founded in 1980, also adopted a breakaway-style plan. Distributors advanced to supervisor, a breakaway rank tied to a wholesale discount, and then earned ongoing royalties on up to 3 generations of supervisors in their downline. Nu Skin, launched in 1984, used a similar structure, calling their breakaway leaders executives, while extending bonuses further down. Despite these variations, they were all fundamentally stair-step breakaway systems. Nearly all of the major legacy MLM companies built their foundations on this structure: Amway, Shackley, Herbalife, Nu Skin, Mary Kay, Tupperware's leadership programs, and even USANA, which originally operated as a breakaway before later shifting to a binary. The strength of Breakaway's track record is that many of these companies have lasted for decades, which is why it remains regarded as the most durable and time-tested model in the industry. Regulators also became more comfortable with breakaway systems because they tied advancement to sales volume and included clear retail components, making them less vulnerable to accusations of being pyramid schemes. Over time, companies layered more complexity on top of the basic breakaway structure, adding profit-sharing pools, generational depth bonuses, and lifestyle rewards. Amway, for instance, now includes multiple tiers of leadership recognition, such as Founders Awards and depth-based overrides on second and third-generation breakaways. Yet, at its core, the principle remains unchanged. Achieve a volume threshold, advance to a higher percentage, develop leaders who break away, and earn leadership overrides on their groups. This enduring simplicity and proven performance are why analysts such as Jeff Babiner have called the stair-step breakaway not only the oldest, but also the most likely to survive for decades to come, a testament to its robustness and adaptability. Scalability, depth, width. Breakaway plans give distributors unlimited width in sponsoring. You can personally recruit as many frontline distributors as you like, and even after some of them break away, you can continue to add more. In fact, building wide is usually necessary to reach the higher leadership titles, since these often require multiple breakaway legs. The incentive, however, is not just to recruit endlessly, but to concentrate on developing a handful of strong legs into independent leaders who will eventually break away. Depth in breakaway plans is also technically unlimited, but unlike a Unilevel where commissions are tied directly to levels, depth here is organized into generations of breakaways. For instance, if someone 5 levels beneath you qualifies as a breakaway leader, their entire group becomes your first generation. If within that group another distributor further down also becomes a breakaway, that creates your second generation, and the pattern continues. Most companies pay generational overrides for 3 to 5 generations of breakaways. This means that while you can, in theory, build infinite depth, your earnings depend on the presence of qualified leaders who create defined generations. If you have a large downline without anyone breaking away, much of that volume might not translate into overrides until someone steps up. This creates a natural push to develop leadership deep in your organization to unlock earnings from that depth. Scalability is vast for those who succeed in developing multiple breakaway legs. At the top levels, leaders often manage dozens of first-generation breakaways and hundreds of groups across several generations, spanning multiple markets and countries. The system supports this scale by gradually reducing the override percentages with each generation, keeping payouts sustainable while still rewarding the leader with a share of immense global volume. Spillover and placement in breakaway plans operate differently from binaries or matrices. There is no forced spillover, since there is no restriction on width. Every recruit you personally sponsor remains your own, and the system does not automatically place them under others. Occasionally, uplines may choose to place recruits under a downline member to strengthen a leg, a practice sometimes called stacking. Traditional breakaway companies often discourage this, preferring that each distributor build their own team, though modern hybrid breakaway plans sometimes allow or even encourage it. In general, however, breakaway philosophy holds that you control your own recruiting and placement, and any spillover is a deliberate strategic choice rather than a structural feature of the plan. Theoretical versus practical earning potential. The breakaway plan's theoretical income potential is extremely high for serious business builders. Imagine building 10 strong legs, each of which reaches breakaway status and generates $100,000 in monthly volume. With a 5% override on each, that's $50,000 a month just from overrides, before adding differential income from non-breakaway groups, profit sharing, or lifestyle bonuses. This explains why top leaders in companies like Amway, known as diamonds and above, can earn substantial incomes. The design of the plan ensures that the greatest rewards go to those who can develop multiple independent leaders, since those leaders drive significant consumer sales volume across their own organizations. Instead of paying infinitely deep on every line, the model spreads out income across multiple independent groups, creating both fairness and sustainability. In practice, however, breakaway plans can present challenges, particularly for new or part-time distributors. Advancement requires meeting monthly volume quotas, and without a strong base of retail customers, many struggle to hit those numbers without resorting to large personal purchases. Historically, this has led to the issue of inventory loading, where distributors buy excess product to qualify for rank. Many companies now include safeguards like buyback policies or the 70% resale rule to limit abuse, but the pressure remains. Another common difficulty is the earning gap at lower levels. Until a distributor reaches higher ranks, the overrides they earn are often small, and much of the volume is flowing upward as differential income to their uplines. For someone sitting at a middle rank, like supervisor or manager, it can feel discouraging to do a lot of work while the larger share of the payout goes above. To counter this, most breakaway companies add fast start or first order bonuses that give newer members immediate earning opportunities. Still, the middle stage can be a grind, with downlines looking for leadership and uplines taking differentials, leaving the distributor squeezed until they break through to the top commission level. The breakthrough comes when someone finally advances to the highest percentage tier and starts producing breakaway legs of their own. At that point, income can rise dramatically, since the distributor no longer loses differentials to their upline and instead begins receiving leadership overrides. Many case studies in breakaway companies show distributors stuck for months at a 15% level, earning only a few $100s, then suddenly leaping to a few thousand a month once they reach the top percentage and break out leaders. The long-term stability of the plan is one of its strongest features. Many of the highest earning families in MLM history are rooted in breakaway companies. Some Amway leaders, for instance, have held diamond or higher status for decades, passing their businesses on to the next generation. The resilience comes from diversification. Income flows from many independent legs and groups around the world, so even if one weakens, others sustain the business. The practical downsides remain complexity and difficulty of explanation. Breakaway plans involve multiple ranks, percentages, and shifting payout rules, which can be overwhelming to new recruits. Some critics argue that the structure is so complicated, it is hard to present in a simple, compelling way. Yet for advanced builders, that complexity is part of its strength, because it carefully balances incentives for retailing, leadership development, and retention. In conclusion, the breakaway plan requires persistence, consistent product sales, and strong leadership development. Those who can navigate the learning curve and invest in building leaders find the model richly rewarding with enduring income potential. For others, the complexity and high demands may cause them to stall at lower levels and see limited earnings. Still, the plan has proven its longevity, making it a natural fit for builders who value independence, leadership creation, and a long-term residual income based on real product consumption. We've now covered the breakaway concept in broad terms, but the term stair-step breakaway is often used specifically to describe the rank-based progression and differential payout system. In the next chapter, we'll focus on those mechanics in detail, exploring how distributors climb the ladder and what the experience of moving toward breakaway actually looks like. Chapter 7: Stair-step breakaway models, rank progression. Stair-step mechanics. A stair-step breakaway plan is named for its resemblance to a staircase, where each rank advancement is like stepping up to a higher platform with a higher commission rate, until you reach the top step where breakaway occurs. The steps are usually defined by monthly group volume thresholds, sometimes combined with structural requirements. A company might, for example, define its ranks as distributor with 0% commission at the entry level, senior distributor at $500 group volume and 5% commission, manager at $1,500 and 10%, senior manager at $4,000 and 15%, and director at $8,000 and 20%. Reaching director typically triggers breakaway. Each time you hit a new threshold in a given month, you qualify for that rank's commission percentage on your entire group's sales during that month. If the following month your volume declines, you may drop back to a lower step, unless the company includes a lock-in or grace feature to prevent immediate demotion. The imagery is very literal. Companies often illustrate their pay plan with charts showing volume on one axis and commission rate on the other, creating a staircase-like graph. The differential commissions described earlier operate as the differences between each of these steps. Qualification criteria. In addition to volume thresholds, stair-step breakaway plans frequently include other advancement requirements, such as sponsoring a minimum number of personal recruits or developing a certain number of frontline distributors who also reach specific ranks. These rules are designed to ensure that growth comes not just from personal purchases or sales, but from building and supporting a team. Still, volume remains the main driver of progression. In fact, it is possible for an individual with exceptional personal sales to advance through the steps without much of a team at all. This makes stair-step breakaway somewhat more retail-friendly than many other structures, since a high-performing seller can climb ranks and earn higher percentages simply by generating enough volume. However, to achieve breakaway status and unlock leadership bonuses, most companies eventually require the development of downline leaders, making both retail strength and team building essential components of the model. Breakaway point. The top step before breakaway is the threshold of separation. Once you move beyond it, you are recognized as a breakaway leader. Different companies use different titles for the status, such as director, gold director, or similar labels. At this rank, the plan shifts in nature. Instead of continuing as part of your upline's ordinary downline, you now count as a separate unit and begin earning on generations of leaders. For your own downline, you assume the role of a true leader figure, almost like the company representative in their eyes, because you now mentor and manage them as an independent leader. In earlier versions of the model, such as in Amway's early days, breakaway direct distributors even handled ordering and logistics for their entire group. Today, companies typically ship products directly to each distributor, so the breakaway distinction is more about compensation structure and leadership recognition than administrative tasks. Motivational aspects of stair steps. The stair-step design provides powerful psychological incentives. Each step represents a tangible mini-goal, making progress visible and attainable. Distributors have clear milestones to chase. For example, someone who generates $1,000 in sales volume and sits at a 5% commission might be motivated to push to $1,500 so they can become a manager at 10%. This leads to a familiar cultural phenomenon in breakaway companies known as the end-of-month push, where teams rally to reach the next threshold before commissions are finalized. Uplines often reinforce this drive, encouraging their teams by pointing out how close they are to the next rank. The result is a performance-driven culture where advancement is celebrated, often with public recognition such as pins, certificates, or stage recognition at events. These small but visible rewards enhance the motivation to keep climbing. The flip side is that some distributors who repeatedly fall just short of a step may feel discouraged or may resort to stretching their volume through personal purchases in order to qualify. This behavior can create issues like inventory loading if not carefully managed. To address this, many companies have adjusted their qualifications to balance volume requirements with structural requirements, ensuring that advancement is sustainable and based on both personal production and team development. Training and leadership development. Stair-step breakaway plans naturally cultivate mentorship and leadership. As a distributor advances through the steps, they take on increasing responsibility for guiding their downline, hosting training sessions, and building organizational culture. Uplines invest heavily in promising recruits since it is in their mutual interest to help them reach breakaway. For the upline, once a recruit breaks away, their income shifts from differential commissions to leadership overrides, freeing them to develop additional leaders while still benefiting from the original breakaway's success. For the downline, achieving breakaway not only secures higher commissions, but also strengthens their independence as a leader. This process creates a structured path of succession, where leaders climb, then mentor proteges to climb, creating a cycle of leadership development. Over time, this builds a legacy effect in which an upline's long-term success depends directly on how many successful leaders they have fostered. Advantages and disadvantages. Recap: stair-step breakaway models have several advantages. They have a long and proven track record across multiple decades and markets, showing they can be adapted globally by adjusting volume targets to fit local economies. The structure aligns incentives with product sales, since advancement is volume-driven, and it balances the need for both width and depth by rewarding wide recruitment and deep development. It is often regarded as meritocratic. Distributors are rewarded in proportion to their performance, and uplines cannot override a downline who has reached the same rank. The design also encourages the right mix of behaviors: retail selling, personal recruiting, and team development, all of which are required to progress through the steps. From a company perspective, the differential system ensures sustainability, since commission payouts on a given volume are shared between ranks without duplication. At the same time, stair-step breakaway plans have disadvantages. They can be complex to present, with jargon like PV, BV, percentages, and breakaways making the plan difficult for newcomers to understand quickly. Poorly implemented versions of the plan have historically led to inventory loading, where distributors purchase more product than they can sell in order to meet volume requirements, creating compliance risks. If distributors chase volume primarily through recruitment rather than retail sales, companies may face legal scrutiny despite the structure itself emphasizing product volume. Another drawback is the temporary income drop when a downline breaks away. Uplines may see their earnings on that leg fall from a substantial differential margin to a smaller override. While this usually balances out over time as the new breakaway leader expands their independent group, the short-term dip, sometimes referred to as the breakaway's curse, can be discouraging. Strong compensation plans offset this effect with one-time bonuses or recognition rewards to support the mentor through the transition. Key companies and examples within stair-step. Amway is the classic example, with a stair-step system that advances distributors through multiple levels up to the 25% mark before breakaway occurs, after which leadership and generational bonuses apply. Mary Kay's career path follows a stair-step model as well, beginning with consultant, then star consultant, team leader, future director, director as the breakaway point, and then into higher director titles with greater rewards. Shackley historically used steps such as supervisor and coordinator before breakaway, while Avon, though better known as a direct sales company, implemented a leadership program that introduced stair-step mechanics for recruiters, with ranks like unit leader, advanced unit leader, and executive unit leader that function much like smaller breakaway groups. Primerica, a financial services network marketing company, applies a version of the model to insurance commissions. Representatives rise through levels such as division leader and regional leader, with higher contract percentages reflecting differentials, and regional vice president serving as the breakaway rank, where representatives effectively open their own offices. This demonstrates how the stair-step structure is not confined to product-based MLMs, but can also be adapted to service industries. In closing the stair-step chapter, it's clear that this model blends individual progression with team development. The steps provide achievable short-term goals, while the breakaway mechanism ensures long-term leadership growth and sustainable overrides. Though sometimes considered complex, stair-step breakaway plans are among the most mature and time-tested MLM compensation systems, with a track record of success across multiple industries. For advanced professionals in the field, mastering the nuances of stair-step breakaway is almost a rite of passage. It is akin to learning advanced calculus in the world of MLM compensation plans. Challenging at first, but essential for understanding how sales and recruitment can be effectively balanced over the long term. With Unilevel, binary, matrix, and force matrix, and stair-step breakaway plans covered, the next focus shifts to two remaining models. First, we'll examine differential plans, which operate as the underlying engine inside many breakaway structures, but can also function as standalone systems. After that, we'll explore hybrid plans, which blend elements of multiple models to create new variations. We now turn to differential plans to see how they work in practice and how companies like Amway and Herbalife have used them to reward volume and leadership. Chapter 8. Differential Plans. What is a differential plan? A differential compensation plan, sometimes called a generation or differential bonus plan, is a system where the commission paid to a distributor on downline sales is determined by the difference between the distributor's own commission rate and the commission rate of their downline. Instead of a fixed override or set percentage per level, the payout depends entirely on the rank-based percentage gap between uplines and downlines. This is the same mechanism we encountered in breakaway structures, where uplines earn differentials until a downline reaches the same rank and breaks away. However, some companies use differential logic as the foundation of their entire plan without including a formal breakaway until much higher levels, making it worth analyzing on its own. In a pure differential system, the company sets a maximum payout percentage on sales volume, and commissions are distributed based on the ranking gap. For example, if the company designates 50% of sales volume as the payout ceiling and the distributor who makes the sale is at 30%, then up to 20% is left for uplines to capture. If the next upline is at 25%, they would not get the 20%. Instead, they would only get the difference between their 25% and the seller's 30%, which is zero. This illustrates a defining feature. If a downline has the same or higher commission rate than their upline, the upline receives nothing from that sale. Only uplines with higher percentages capture income from the differential. Most differential plans use the standard metrics of personal volume PV and business volume BV. PV usually refers to sales points tied to an individual distributor's personal purchases or customer sales, while BV is a standardized monetary value assigned to products for calculating commissions. Each rank corresponds to a PV percentage that acts as a discount or commission rate. A typical structure might look like this. A starting distributor earns 0%, a senior distributor earns 5%, a supervisor earns 15%, a manager 25%, a leader 35%, and a top leader 45%. To see this in practice, imagine a rank 3 supervisor at 15% makes a sale worth 100 BV. They would earn $15. The system then allocates the remaining 30% of potential payout, assuming the cap is 45% to uplines. The first upline, who is rank 4 at 25%, earns the difference between 25% and 15%, which is 10% or $10. The next upline, rank 6 at 45%, earns the difference between 45% and 25%, which is 20% or $20. Altogether, the seller earns $15. The first upline earns $10, and the higher upline earns $20, for a total of $30, $45, which equals the maximum payout designed by the company. If another upline above them is also at 45%, they receive nothing because the commission percentage has already been matched. The sale volume has been consumed by the differentials, ensuring the company does not exceed its payout cap. This mechanism gives differential plans a self-regulating quality. They are mathematically precise, allocating rewards to those who achieve higher ranks and cutting off payment once parity is reached. It ensures that commissions are tied directly to rank advancement and that no distributor earns more than the structure allows. Upline/downline incentives. In a differential plan, the upline is motivated to stay ahead of their downline in both rank and volume. The only way to keep earning overrides is to maintain a higher commission percentage than those below. If a downline distributor approaches the same rank, the upline must advance or risk losing their share of the differential, since once a downline matches their percentage, there is nothing left for the upline to earn on that volume. This creates a natural pressure to keep growing, and while it can occasionally lead to tension if framed as competition, good leaders use it as an opportunity to mentor. The best uplines understand that helping their downline reach higher percentages strengthens the organization overall, even if it reduces their own immediate earnings. Over time, the plan balances this with leadership or generational bonuses that reward the development of strong downlines. For the downline, differential plans are empowering. Each time they climb a step in rank, they take ownership of more of the commission on their own sales, effectively cutting the upline's share. This dynamic reinforces the idea that hard work directly increases personal earnings, while also reducing reliance on uplines. It motivates distributors to push toward the top rank so that no one earns more from their sales than they do. In practical terms, differential plans reward both width and depth. Width matters at the beginning, since enrolling enough volume through personal recruits and sales helps someone climb the commission ladder more quickly. Depth becomes important later because volume from deeper downlines can only pay differentials if the people between are at lower ranks or inactive, allowing the commission to compress upward. Many differential systems also reset each month. Distributors start at 0% on the first day and climb to their achieved percentage by the end of the month based on sales volume. The next month, the process begins again, though long-term ranked titles may require maintaining volume for several consecutive months. This monthly reset structure keeps distributors engaged and consistent in their sales and orders. Most plans also include a minimum personal volume requirement to stay active and eligible for commissions. Uplines, in particular, closely monitor their group volume as the month progresses, encouraging their downlines to push for the next percentage step. They often coach them with reminders like, "You're only a few orders away from 25%, push through and you'll not only increase your rebate, but also strengthen your position." This creates a mentor-mentee relationship where the upline benefits in the early stages from differentials, but gradually passes more earnings to the downline as they advance. It fosters both accountability and leadership development within the structure. Historical context and examples. The differential approach has been central to many of the most prominent MLM companies. Herbalife is a prime example. Distributors begin at a 25% discount or commission on products, and as they accumulate volume, they move up to 35%, 42%, and ultimately 50%. When a distributor at 50%, supervisor level, has a downline at 25%, the 25% gap is their wholesale profit on that downline's orders. That structure is pure differential. Herbalife later added royalties of around 5% on up to 3 levels of supervisors, but the foundational system is still based on differential mechanics tied to product discounts and volume thresholds. Amway follows the same principle. Its plan progresses from 3% to 6% up to 21% performance bonuses based on group sales volume. If someone is at 21% and their downline is at 15%, the upline earns the 6% difference on that group's volume. If the downline also hits 21% and becomes a direct, the differential drops to 0, marking a breakaway. At that point, Amway shifts compensation to a fixed leadership bonus, usually 4% on that breakaway group. The structure shows how the company's entire foundational payout is rooted in differentials until the breakaway point triggers generational overrides. Oriflame, a major European cosmetics MLM, operates with a similar model. Consultants earn around 30% retail profit and climb from 3% up to 21% commission on group volume. When someone reaches 21%, they are recognized as a director, and their upline receives a 4% leadership bonus on that group, which is a textbook application of the differential model layered with Breakaway. Even Avon, long associated with direct sales rather than multi-level structures, historically used differential-like discounting. Representatives earn between 20% and 50% depending on their sales in a campaign. Although Avon didn't originally pay uplines, the discount model itself functioned as a form of differential, with the company effectively acting as the upline. When Avon later introduced leadership programs, they essentially added generational bonuses on top of the existing differential-style discounts, aligning it more with MLM frameworks. Together, these examples highlight how differential logic forms the backbone of both traditional and modern MLM compensation systems, providing a scalable, volume-based way to reward performance while keeping payouts within controlled limits. Scalability and long-term aspects. Differential plans are widely regarded as one of the most stable and sustainable compensation models in the MLM industry. Industry sources often describe them as long-term, comparatively low-risk structures, and it's no coincidence that many of the most reputable companies, such as Amway and Herbalife, have relied on them as the backbone of their payouts. The stability comes from the self-regulating nature of the model. The company sets a maximum commission percentage, and no matter how wide or deep the organization grows, it will never pay more than that percentage on any given sale. The commission simply gets divided across qualified uplines until the cap is reached. This contrasts with unilevel or binary systems, where multiple people can sometimes share in the same sale, creating the risk of overpayment if not carefully capped. In differential plans, at most the full designated commission percentage is paid, and often it's less. If there are gaps, say a distributor has no qualified upline at a higher rank, the unclaimed portion is either rolled up to the next eligible person or retained by the company. This mechanism is often referred to as roll-up or compression. It ensures payouts are both controlled and sustainable while leaving room for the company to reinvest or manage breakage. For distributors, differential plans offer a steady, structured path for income progression. At the beginning, a distributor might only earn small percentages on a few downlines. As they grow their personal and group volume, their commission rate increases, allowing them to capture larger differentials from their organization. Eventually, if they reach the top percentage level, there may be little or no override above them, meaning they capture the full margin on their group's sales, aside from any generational bonuses tied to breakaway leaders below. This encourages steady growth and rewards those who continue driving volume. Importantly, differential plans align closely with retail and regulatory expectations. Since advancement depends primarily on achieving higher sales volume, strong sellers can outrank even aggressive recruiters if they generate more actual product sales. This emphasis on customer volume helps reinforce compliance and sustainability. It creates an income structure where long-term stability comes from repeat product consumption rather than short-term bursts of recruitment. In this way, differential plans not only protect the company's financial model, but also reinforce behaviors that contribute to the overall credibility and longevity of the business. Theoretical versus practical earnings. In theory, a differential plan can reward a single high performer very generously. If someone is able to personally generate massive sales volume, they rise to the top commission percentage and earn that margin on all of their sales, much like a retailer operating at a 50% profit margin. However, MLM businesses are not built on personal sales alone. They rely on teams, and differential plans are designed to reward steady, balanced growth, both width for generating broad sales volume and depth for creating a sustainable structure matter. In practice, the early stages of a differential plan can feel slow. New distributors at the bottom of the commission scale often feel that their upline or the company is taking the larger share of their sales. But as they progress through the ranks, the dynamic flips. Once they reach the top commission level in their lineage, they capture nearly the entire margin for themselves. For leaders who reach that stage, the earnings are not only higher, but also more stable because much of the income comes from repeat product purchases and established customer orders, rather than one-time recruitment bonuses or volatile binary cycles. This stability is one of the key reasons companies continue to rely on differential models. They tie earnings directly to repeat sales and consumption, which supports long-term sustainability. By contrast, other plans that lean heavily on recruitment may produce high earnings early, but risk collapse if new enrollments slow. The practical drawback is that differential payouts can seem conservative to newcomers. There are rarely large one-time bonuses for recruiting a single person. Instead, the earnings grow gradually as small overrides on sales differences, which accumulate with time. People seeking instant gratification may find binaries or unilevels more appealing at first because those systems often provide early recruitment bonuses. Recognizing this, many companies now design hybrid differential plans that include upfront bonuses alongside the traditional rank-based differential, giving new distributors a quicker sense of progress while preserving the long-term stability of the model. In summary, the differential plan is less a standalone type and more the mathematical backbone of stair-step breakaways and many hybrids. Its guiding principle is simple. You earn only if you are outperforming your downline, and even then, only by the percentage difference between your level and theirs. This ensures those doing the most volume earn the most commission, keeping the structure equitable. It also explains why an upline's commission shrinks as their downline advances, which is not a flaw but a feature designed to encourage continued growth and leadership development. For advanced MLM professionals, understanding this mechanism is essential. It clarifies why income can dip when downlines climb and highlights the strategies to offset it. Either advance further yourself or expand your width to capture fresh volume. With differential plans explored, we now move into the final chapter of this audiobook. Hybrid plans. In practice, few companies rely on a single model. Instead, Most modern MLM compensation systems blend unilevel, binary, matrix, breakaway, and differential components to craft a structure that motivates the behaviors most aligned with the company's goals. Chapter 9. Hybrid Compensation Plans. What is a hybrid plan? A hybrid compensation plan is any MLM payout structure that blends two or more traditional models in order to balance their strengths and minimize weaknesses. Pure unilevel, binary, matrix, or breakaway plans each have clear advantages, but they also come with limitations. By combining elements, companies can design a system that better fits their product line, distributor culture, and long-term growth strategy. In reality, most large MLMs today operate hybrids rather than single structure systems. The goal is to incentivize multiple behaviors at once: retail sales, steady recruitment, leadership development, and retention, without leaning too heavily on one mechanism. For example, a company might use a binary for team building, while layering in Unilevel-style matching bonuses for mentorship, or start with a Unilevel payout but switch to breakaway rules once leaders emerge. Common hybrid examples. One of the most widespread hybrids is binary plus Unilevel. In this design, the binary structure handles the basic commission engine, rewarding volume on two legs, but a Unilevel overlay rewards sponsorship and leadership. USANA is a classic example. It uses a binary to calculate weekly commissions while adding a Unilevel matching bonus on up to 3 levels of personally sponsored lines, ensuring that leaders are rewarded not only for team volume, but also for directly mentoring new recruits. Jeunesse Global follows a similar pattern, combining binary cycles for weekly income with Unilevel-style leadership, matching bonuses across 7 generations of sponsorship. These kinds of hybrids combine the excitement and speed of binary payouts with the longer-term stability and mentorship rewards of Unilevel. Another frequent hybrid is Unilevel plus Breakaway. Here, a company might begin with a simple Unilevel structure, letting new distributors earn on perhaps 3 to 5 levels of their team. But once a distributor advances to a certain rank, their organization beyond those levels is treated as a breakaway leg, with generational overrides paid instead of level-based commissions. This gives beginners a straightforward plan while still requiring advanced leaders to develop strong, independent teams. Major companies such as Amway, Herbalife, and Nu Skin employ versions of this approach, mixing early-stage Unilevel payouts with breakaway logic at higher levels. Matrix hybrids also appear. A company may adopt a forced matrix for predictable monthly commissions, but add binary-style cycle bonuses every time a level fills. Conversely, some firms adapt binaries with matrix-like restrictions on early levels, limiting width for new participants before opening it up later. While less common, these hybrids aim to control payout liability while offering teamwork incentives. Another variation is binary plus generation plan. Instead of paying only on volume pairs, companies integrate generational leadership bonuses into the binary genealogy, rewarding leaders for depth development in a way that mirrors breakaway models. In all of these hybrids, the purpose is the same: to create a compensation system that appeals to both newcomers and veterans, balances short-term motivation with long-term sustainability, and aligns the plan with the company's product strategy. Hybrids are not accidental compromises. They are intentional designs meant to capture the best aspects of multiple compensation philosophies. Why hybridize? Each compensation structure in MLM is designed to encourage specific behaviors, and no single plan type covers every need. Binary plans create urgency and a sense of teamwork with their focus on balancing two legs and providing weekly pay, but they often lack incentives for long-term leadership development. Adding generational bonuses to a binary structure helps address that by rewarding the training and growth of new leaders, not just piling on volume. Breakaway and differential systems, on the other hand, offer stability and long-term depth rewards, but they can be complex to explain and may feel slow to new recruits. By adding a binary or unilevel overlay, companies can provide short-term excitement and simpler entry points while keeping the long-term sustainability of the breakaway system. Unilevel plans are straightforward and effective for retail-focused organizations, but since they do not strongly encourage leadership building, companies often layer breakaway or generational bonuses at higher ranks to incentivize depth. Matrix plans, which naturally control breadth and create spillover benefits, can stall once the matrix fills, so some companies innovate by combining them with binary mechanics, such as converting a full matrix into a new binary leg, to extend growth potential. In essence, hybridizing is a way to cover all stages of distributor motivation. immediate income for new participants, medium-term rewards for team building, and long-term retention through leadership incentives. Pros and cons of hybrids. The primary advantage of hybrid plans is their flexibility. A company can fine-tune percentages and rules to match its exact goals. If the strategy is customer acquisition, more payout can be allocated to Unilevel commissions tied to retail customers, while a smaller portion may go to binary bonuses for recruitment. If the company's goal is rapid international expansion, a binary base might be chosen for speed and duplication, with additional pools or leadership bonuses layered on for stability. Hybrids also have broad appeal because they include features familiar to different types of distributors. Fans of binary cycles, Unilevel simplicity, or breakaway depth all find something attractive in the same plan. Additionally, hybrids are scalable. As the company grows, management can adjust one element, such as tweaking matching bonuses, without disrupting the entire structure. The downside is complexity. By mixing multiple systems, companies risk creating a plan that is difficult to explain, harder to implement, and prone to misunderstandings. A distributor might receive a binary commission, but not qualify for a matching bonus because they did not meet a sponsorship requirement, which can lead to frustration if the rules are not crystal clear. On the corporate side, hybrids are more expensive to manage in terms of software and oversight. The risk of overpaying increases with complexity, so robust monitoring systems are critical. For distributors, hybrids can also cause focus dilution. They may wonder whether to prioritize balancing legs, building width, or hitting volume goals, which can fragment their effort. Ideally, a well-designed hybrid aligns these behaviors so that doing one supports the others. But without proper training, participants may treat the components as disconnected incentives. For this reason, clear communication, education, and onboarding are essential to make hybrid plans effective. Examples of successful hybrids. Nu Skin is one of the most well-known examples of a hybrid compensation structure. They began with a traditional stair-step breakaway model, then later introduced what they called the block system, which operated like a mini matrix embedded within a unilevel structure, creating a complex but layered approach. Today, their velocity plan incorporates multiple elements: fast start bonuses that work like a unilevel on customers, midterm building bonuses, and generational leadership commissions. This design serves different categories of participants, rewarding retailers, builders, and leaders in distinct but complementary ways. Beachbody, known for its fitness and coaching products, runs on a binary framework for team volume, but overlays it with a Unilevel-style matching bonus on the binary income of personally sponsored coaches, along with quarterly leadership bonuses, making it firmly hybrid. Young Living, the essential oils company, uses a Unilevel base that pays up to 8 levels deep, but once distributors reach silver rank or higher, the plan shifts into generational leadership payouts. This is essentially a Unilevel breakaway blend that encourages both broad customer development and deep leader cultivation. doTERRA, another oils MLM, operates a Unilevel plan as well, but with an unusual twist. They pay higher percentages on deeper levels than shallow ones, designed to reward depth building. On top of that, they include the Power of 3 bonus, which behaves like a matrix incentive, plus leadership pools that function similarly to breakaway overrides. This makes doTERRA a prime example of a hybrid where multiple structural ideas coexist under one umbrella, designing a hybrid, analytical tone. When companies create a hybrid plan, they begin by clarifying what outcomes they want to drive. If the priority is customer acquisition, the plan is designed to heavily reward product sales through retail margins, preferred customer bonuses, or acquisition rebates. If rapid duplication and growth are key, the company will add binary cycles, fast start bonuses, or sponsorship incentives that provide quick payouts for enrolling new distributors. If the focus is long-term retention and leadership, then generational bonuses, breakaway overrides, or leadership pools are layered in, rewarding consistency and mentorship rather than just recruitment. In practice, hybrids often resemble a 3-phase journey. The early phase provides immediate income opportunities, such as fast start or binary commissions, to keep new distributors motivated. The growth phase centers on team-building payouts like Unilevel or depth-based commissions that reward sustained sales activity. The legacy phase introduces leadership pools, breakaway overrides, or generational commissions that solidify long-term loyalty and give established leaders residual income tied to team stability. Companies also frequently stagger payout frequencies to align with these phases, weekly for fast start and binary income, monthly for Unilevel commissions, and quarterly for leadership pools or global bonuses. This structured timing maintains excitement in the short term while anchoring commitment for the long haul. In effect, a well-designed hybrid is less about mixing structures randomly and more about crafting a system that strategically engages distributors at every stage of their career. Theoretical versus practical. Theoretically, a hybrid compensation plan offers the ideal earning trajectory for a distributor. It provides small, quick wins at the beginning to keep people motivated, followed by a phase of steady, medium-term income as teams are built, and finally larger, more stable income once someone reaches a top leadership position. In practice, achieving this balance is not simple, but the best-run companies have demonstrated that it is possible, producing many million-dollar earners, while also supporting large numbers of part-timers who can still see value. The hybrid model gives something to everyone, which is why it is so widely used today. From the company's perspective, hybrids also create financial security. By mixing payout mechanisms, for instance, direct commissions, binaries, and pools, companies can cap liability while maintaining distributor satisfaction. Many hybrids use flex mechanisms, such as pools that only distribute what is funded by sales to ensure no overpayment occurs. Flexibility is a defining strength. Companies can adjust hybrid structures as they expand globally, deploying binary-heavy models in markets where teamwork structures are popular, while emphasizing unilevel commissions in markets that favor retail sales, all under one unified plan. Key takeaway: a hybrid plan combines elements from multiple traditional structures to provide both flexibility and sustainability as the organization grows. The trade-off is complexity, which must be mitigated with clear tools, robust training, and transparency so that distributors understand and trust the plan. As the industry has matured, compensation structures have converged. Most modern plans are hybrids that borrow elements from several models, defying easy categorization. To conclude this deep dive narrative, each MLM compensation plan, Unilevel, Binary, Matrix, Breakaway, Differential, and their hybrid combinations, has a distinct logic and purpose. The Unilevel emphasizes simplicity and width. The Binary injects teamwork, urgency, and fast-paced cycles. The Matrix promises order, spillover, and egalitarianism. Breakaway and Differential plans bring stability, leadership development, and long-term endurance. Hybrids attempt to combine these strengths into a cohesive system tailored to both the field's motivation and the company's longevity. For an advanced network marketer, understanding these plans is like understanding different strategic games. The playing boards may look different: 2 legs, 5 levels, stair steps, or infinite depth. But success in every system ultimately comes from the same fundamentals: selling genuine products to genuine customers, mentoring others, and replicating effective habits. Compensation plans are the architecture that dictates how those actions are rewarded. When designed well, they align the distributor's incentives with company growth and customer satisfaction. The variety of structures in use today reflects the adaptability of the industry itself, its ongoing effort to refine the rules of the game in response to regulatory demands, cultural preferences, and the need to motivate people in sustainable ways. As you close this audiobook-style exploration, you now hold a comprehensive understanding of how MLM compensation structures function. Whether you are evaluating a plan for personal involvement or designing one for a company, focus on the core elements: structural design, commission logic, upline-downline dynamics, historical success, scalability, and real-world earning patterns. With this lens, you can see why one company chooses a Unilevel, why another adds a binary kicker, or why a seemingly small generation bonus at the top makes a massive difference in behavior. Every piece is intentional. Armed with this knowledge, you can approach MLM compensation with clarity, skepticism, and strategy, ultimately positioning yourself to maximize whichever model you participate in by focusing on the timeless fundamentals it is built to reward.